The oft imitated in cosplay but never quite duplicated, sometimes girlfriend slash sidekick to the Joker, Harley Quinn, makes her second big screen appearance in Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Played by Margot Robbie, Quinn is joined by a collection of women misfits and vigilantes as they take on villain Black Mask, played by Ewan McGregor. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm on the couch.
Are you dummies still sitting there? Fine. Since you stuck it out this long, I'll tell you a super duper secret, but you can't tell anyone. Okay. Did you know that Batman...
All right, this is Ronald, and I am here on the couch after watching Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Let's see. Directed by Cathy Yan. Screenplay by Christina Hodson, based on characters from DC Comics. Starring Margot Robbie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Jurnee Smollett-Bell, Rosie Perez, Chris Messina, Ella J. Basco, Ali Wong, and Ewan McGregor. Okay, so I'm sitting here. It's 8:55. It's a Thursday evening. Just finished the movie. I was excited about seeing this one. I had heard a lot of good things about it. It was in the theater for a little bit of time. I meant to see it there, but of course, with everything going on around us, it ended up coming to digital online streaming services a little earlier than most. I'm gonna take my time with this one. With DC movies, I feel like DC has been playing catch up with Marvel for a very long time, to the point that they're dipping further back into characters than Marvel has had to in the past. Like Marvel had about 10 years to get out ahead of DC, putting out movie after movie after movie. Whereas something that is akin to a Birds of Prey movie would have taken a long time to come out. I would argue that still has not come out for Marvel. They're dipping out into like movies like Eternals finally, and they're in, I think, what they're calling phase 4 of the Marvel machine. So watching this movie, I expected it to be a team up movie throughout. And I think that was one of the main problems I had with the movie, was that rather than them, doing this team up movie, they kind of made a movie about Harley Quinn and then shoved a team up underneath it. And the reason why I have a problem with that is because I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy came out for Marvel, and at the time knowing nothing about the Guardians of the Galaxy, seeing the preview being like, that looks cool. I don't know who any of these characters are, never heard of any of them, but watched it, and now Rocket Raccoon, I Am Groot, Gamora, all of them, you know what I mean? Star-Lord, Drax, let's do it. You know what I mean? They drew me into the story, and they made me care about these characters who I didn't read the comics for, was not attached to. I feel like with Birds of Prey, it's almost like they didn't trust that they would be able to build any type of engagement with these characters, or DC didn't trust that. The movie itself, and I'm going to put that down for a second. I'll come back to it. The movie itself had a lot of wild changes in pace. Like I said, it's more of a Harley Quinn movie than a team up movie. So it'd be very funny at times. And there was a part that was like overly sinister, and I felt like I thought I was watching like a romp movie where they're having a good time. There's hijinks, but there's no real danger. But there's a few times, and when I say that, you'll kind of know what I mean. It felt like a standard comic book movie. That's the signal I thought they were sending early, that it was going to be a standard comic book movie. But a lot of times there's some like pretty, graphic things kind of going on. And then the wild chases and pace kind of don't allow me to kind of take the good with the bad. Now, this is a rated R comic book movie, and Deadpool does a good job of telling you how to make a rated R comic book movie where, you can shove a lot of jokes in there, but there's going to be some violence. Whereas this one felt like it didn't quite it went kind of there with the violence, but not, it wasn't as cartoonish as Deadpool kind of leaned into being. And I guess you could do that when you have somebody that, that has the ability to heal themselves. So there's a lot more you can do with that if that's their superpower, as opposed to something like this, where it's just more like people bashing their way through whatever's going on. So Harley Quinn is the main character in this movie. She's coming off a breakup with the Joker. We're supposed to be invested in that. I saw Suicide Squad. I wasn't really invested in that. So that kind of becomes their hook to making a narrative structure for the movie. They revisit that again at the end, based on the journey that she goes through. And again, no spoilers here, but they do revisit, her and her relationship with the Joker kind of, and they touch on it throughout the movie, but it's not the main source. It is not the main plot, but it is important. Her relationship with the Joker is important. But that being said, it seemed like this movie was just more, they wanted to really push Harley Quinn. And I guess I'm struggling because I'm wondering if that's just because DC didn't trust the other characters that they had built into this movie, or if it's because that's how this is in the comics. And I wouldn't know. I've read the Suicide Squad comics, and I know that the Suicide Squad comics are not all just about Harley Quinn. They're about all of the characters of the Suicide Squad. And if you read them, they kind of flesh out all those characters. So watching this and seeing them not kind of really give the other characters in the movie, called Birds of Prey, their due, it just doesn't seem right. And then the other part is, I remember after the movie was released, because it wasn't doing so well in theaters, and being that it's popular, people seem to like it when they watch it, they kind of went and retconned the title and started calling it Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, as opposed to Birds of Prey, and then in parentheses, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Okay, so I'm rapping right now, but I'm saying all that to say it felt like that. It felt like they kind of made it a Harley Quinn movie, and I'll have to look up if there are reshoots or anything on this movie, but an hour and 19 minutes into the movie, and I have that benefit because I'm sitting on the couch, so I can pause it and see exactly where we are. An hour and 19 minutes into the movie, it then becomes a team up movie, and they only have 30 minutes left after that. So if we're being honest, maybe about a solid 20 minutes of the movies is all of these women working together against one enemy, which I just felt like, if you're going to do a team up movie, you can't do it that late in. And it feels like DC has once again, if you take something like, if you look at something like Justice League, you didn't do all the due diligence, but you do a team up movie. So by the time they're all fighting together, the reason why they're fighting together is kind of just almost by happenstance, which is kind of what happens in Birds of Prey. And I would have loved to have seen them working together earlier in the movie, maybe. And it doesn't have to be like the whole movie of them just being a team fighting together, but maybe like an hour in, you know what I mean? It's an hour, 48 minutes movie, maybe an hour in, maybe like 40 minutes in, something where you've built it up a little bit, but then they connect together. That's not what happens here. And the problem I have with that is, because it happened so late, the movie just gets way better when they start working together, just way better. The fight scenes, the banter, all of that stuff, it just gets way better. And I only get that for about 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. The rest of it, I'm kind of just watching Harley Quinn make jokes and all that. And I'm not really attached to Harley Quinn, but I really was enjoying seeing all the women work together kind of towards one goal. And even the dialogue, action, everything just felt better when it was all of them working together. This movie was reminiscent to me of a movie called Smoking Aces that came out in the early 2000s. And it was about a bunch of assassins all going after one target. And this movie had a lot of, it was reminiscent of that a lot. And I was sitting there watching it a few times over and over again. You have the same thing happening where they're all kind of chasing one target. So it's, when I got to the end of it, I kind of felt like, I don't know. Ewan McGregor was a villain, and I don't know. He plays a villain the same way they play these kind of like B-level villains, the villains that are just like, that they're digging deep into the DC or Marvel universe to find, where it's like, it's somebody that's probably not going to, you're not going to need a bunch of good guys to take down this villain, but he's going to give you a bit of a fight. So he's going to have some sort of strong motivating factors, but There's even one scene that I actually laughed at in which Harley Quinn is having an exchange with Ewan McGregor, who is the Black Mask in this movie. And they're having an exchange and he keeps trying to tell her like what's going on and how he feels or his big master plan. She keeps cutting him off and be like, yo, I don't need to hear that. Yeah, I don't need, which I thought was hilarious. But if you look at the larger picture, it's kind of like the movie being like, okay, audience, we get it. He's a bad guy. You don't need to know his motivation. You just need to know he's evil and sinister, whatever. That's all you really need to know. And I feel like they did a very good job of not forcing me to go through that. But other than that, it just, I don't know. Ooh, thought I heard one of my neighbors. But other than that, I wasn't impressed. And I mean, even sitting on the couch, I just was not that impressed. If I could just rate the last like 40 minutes of the movie, I would probably give it about 3 stars, a solid 3-star movie. But based on the rest of it, I think the rest of it is a 2-star movie. And maybe that has to do with the fact that I'm not the biggest Harley Quinn fan. Don't like her backstory. Don't like her shtick, any of that. I don't understand how she has superpowers or if she has superpowers. I just know that she always kind of just looks invincible in everything I've seen her in, which I'm like, it's just been confusing to me. And feel free to contact me to say what Harley Quinn does besides be crazy and beat up people with a bat. Feel free to fill me in on that. I thought they did a good job of playing to the fact that she's a very smart person. She has a PhD, was formerly a psychiatrist. And they play that up by allowing her to like psychoanalyze people, which I think was interesting. But that being said, I don't understand her. I feel like this was probably the most 3-dimensional I've seen Harley Quinn for the most part. But other than that, like in Suicide Squad, she just came off crazy. In this, there's still large swaths of the movie in which she just kind of just came off as a crazy person swinging a bat. So yeah, with all that in mind, I give the last 40 minutes a solid 3 stars, give the rest of it 2 stars. So I'll give this one a 2.5-star rating. Was not impressed. Even sitting on the couch, I was, parts of it, the pacing again, I was dozing off. Really enjoyed Rosie Perez. Really enjoyed Jurnee Smollett-Bell. Really enjoyed Mary Elizabeth Winstead. The acting of them, did a fine job. But again, not enough of them for me to justify giving it above the rest of the movie, above a 2-star rating. So I would give this 2.5 of 5 stars. Yeah. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of ohitsBigRon Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. To find out more about this show and other ohitsBigRon Studios shows, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ohitsBigRon. That's at ohitsBigRon. If you like this show, check out our sister show, Time Well Spent. Leaving the Theater will be back soon, but until then, I'll be here on the couch.